discuss the mentor's behavior congruent with the ethical standards in the mentoring arrangement. Now, again, on first brush, you're going, hang on a minute, that's a lot of words there. So I want to read it again. Discuss the mentor's behavior congruent, consistent with the ethical standards in the mentoring arrangement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to break this down, make some points, and then, I'll certainly ask Doug to jump in here and see where we go with it. Now, I'm going to do something a little different because a lot of people will start at the beginning and move to the end. I'm going to go at the end and move back to the beginning, and I'm going to start with mentoring arrangement. And what I'm talking about there, and what we're talking about as you learn about this in your certificate, is that the mentoring arrangement is the structure that you set in motion to be able to work together, the mentor, the mentee working together. There's a structure here, and it's an agreed upon structure, so we call that the mentoring arrangement. Now, there is a relationship that exists, but we're talking about the structuring, so it tends to lean more into the word how. How do you structure that up? And through more of our times together here on Mentoring 37, we'll be talking more deeply and richly about the mentoring arrangement itself. But I wanted to take a look at this notion of ethical standards. Now, standards is, again, agreed upon ways. It's sort of like, these are the standards that we're going to work from. We used to think of this as like the policies and procedures manual. These are the standards that we work from. What we're doing is we're saying, okay, these are the things that we've agreed to work according to, and they're ethically connected, so the ethical values. And the ethical values vary. We work with 7. So there's accountability, caring, community, fairness, respect, trust, and hospitality. Again, we're going to learn more about these as we go along, but as you know, in their definition, we have this notion of trusted. So we've already spoken a little bit about that, but we're going to go into that aspect of the ethical standards in another show. But the notion is those ethical values are there, and it's what is sort of, in a sense, an element of the glue that holds that mentoring arrangement together. And when we know those ethical standards, then that mentoring arrangement is going to benefit from that. But to be able to do that, one of the things about the mentoring arrangement is that that is more coming from the mentor than the mentee. The mentor leans in, oh, let's make sure that the structure of this is working, where the mentee would lean a little bit more into the relationship working. So from a structure, the how, the mentor wants to hold the space, that's a term we can use, hold the space for the conversation to take place, and is going to be very aware of the ethical standards that are there. That's why the behavior of the mentor is so important in this mentoring arrangement. You, as a mentor, have to come from this place of ethical standards. And if you don't, it will show up very quickly and will influence the mentoring arrangement and the mentoring relationship. Now, the concept here that's really important is congruence. The idea that what you say is what you do, it's in alignment, it's repeatable. That's what we mean about the behavior. So when you walk into your mentoring arrangement with the person, whether it's in the coffee shop, in a room, on a walk, wherever it might be, there's consistency, there's a congruence of your behavior as you go about doing what you're doing. Doug, anything to add to this part?
Well, as we're going through and I'm listening to the definition and that you've provided, a story actually popped into my mind, and it fits quite nicely into this whole action outcome statement. So I'm just going to really quickly take people, the listeners, through it. So I was brought into an organization to to work with a particular individual who, from a behavior standpoint, according to the organization, we needed to be able to generate a behavior difference, a change in behavior. So part of looking at it from, certainly from this action outcome, is I needed to be able to, as part of that mentoring arrangement, to be able to create that safe environment for a conversation to take place. I needed to build that level of, and so when I listened to, certainly going through and talking about the behavior being congruent, the processes that I used had to be consistent, mentoring session after mentoring session after mentoring session. If I were to deviate from that path, it would then become, in that individual's mind, the environment in which the arrangement was taking place would no longer be safe, and the element of trust, I would have damaged that element of trust. And so we went through this process. There were a number of different root causes for the behavior that we were able to address. And I was able to witness I call it a remarkable behavioral change that took place as a result of, number one, the congruency that I put into place to make sure that this was repeatable session after session, that I was able to build that safe place, that safe environment, and that I built and maintained a level of trust that continues even to this day. Even though I'm not there, we still stay in touch periodically, and the trust is there. So that's kind of gives you an example from a practical aspect as to, when we look at the behavior of the mentor and it needing to be congruent, and it also needs to be mindful and practicing ethical standards.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's easy to slip up sometimes because you might go, well, I think what we'll do is we'll go a little bit more informal today, when formality needs to continue on just a little bit longer. I think that's to your point of that example that you just gave. So thanks for that. All right. Now,